Greetings, beautiful people with knees. This is Christina at Fit and Bendy here with some great tips for you to take good care of your knees when you're practicing straddle and middle splits. And these tips will not just help with your splits, they're just going to help with your knee health in general. And who can argue with that? Knee pain is pretty common, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that our knee joint is just not the most stable joint. It's meant for doing a lot of motion. It's got a lot of springiness to it, but it doesn't deal well with forces going sideways to the joint. It's very good with these forces, not as good with these forces. And those sideways forces happen to the knees when you do middle splits. So the exercises that we're about to do work on strengthening the entire outside of your leg, from your outside butt all the way down to your pinky toe. And I really like these exercises because they really help to strengthen the side of the kneecap, the muscles that stabilize this side of the kneecap. This is the outside of your quad. And these muscles don't always get a lot of love in our exercise life. So we're going to do two different exercises. For the first one, we're going to be standing, and you're going to want some kind of block or coffee table or low object that you can lean forward and put your hands on. For those of you with really super flexible hamstrings, you can certainly do this with your hands all the way down the floor, but it just adds a little bit more of like a hamstring factor to it. And that's not really what we're going for here. So a little bit of elevation can be very helpful. In this position, you want to internally rotate your legs. So I've got my toes turned in and my heels turned out. And I'm going to do my absolute very best to not rotate my pelvis as I lift my left leg out to the side, and I'm just going to start with some little pulses. Now, this is a heavily outside butt exercise, so I'm really feeling that outside butt work here in order to lift my leg up. This is just our warm-up. Then I'm going to lift that leg up, I'm going to hold it there, and I'm going to bend this knee and straighten it back out. And every time it's the straightening where I'm really doing the work. Every time I straighten that knee, I'm thinking about my outside butt connecting all the way down, and I'm squeezing that knee all the way straight. So I'm really emphasizing the quad and the way that it connects up to that outside butt muscle. So you can feel this whole line up the outside of the leg. It's also, I find, helpful if the foot stays flexed, and I'm thinking about lifting my pinky toe up towards the ceiling even though I'm still in my internal rotation. Let's do 3 more of these, and 2, and 1. Hold and lower that leg down. Now, we can add on to this and do a knee strengthening for the standing leg as well. By bringing the standing leg back into parallel, we don't want to do this exercise with the standing leg internally rotated. I'm just going to internally rotate the leg that lifts. Lift it up. Now I'm going to hold that leg up, and both knees are going to bend, and both knees are going to straighten. So now I'm strengthening both knees at the same time, really feeling those muscles up the outside of the legs and the way that they work to support the kneecap. If I'm looking at my standing leg, very important to make sure that my knee is tracking directly over the center of my foot, not turning in like this, which it may want to do. So by tracking that foot directly, or tracking that knee directly over my foot, I'm making sure that I'm getting a really good angle in the knee. Let's try the other side. So I'm going to start with both legs internally rotated, and then I'm going to pick up my right foot and just do little lifts out to the side. Now, I'm mostly focused on that right side over here, but this left side is also definitely working in order to make this movement happen. It has to work to stabilize my hips, stabilize my legs, and make sure that I'm not rotating out of alignment. We're going to hold that leg up, bend the knee, and straighten. And I'm really trying to max out that lift. I'm seeing how high can I lift that leg without letting my pelvis rotate at all. Both outside butts, definitely feeling the work. Also feeling the work down the outside of the quad on the right side. Let's do 1 more of those. Then we're going to bring it in. I'm going to bring this left leg back to parallel and only internally rotate the right leg, lift it out to the side. Now both knees bend and both knees straighten. And again, I'm checking on this knee. And I want to make sure that that knee is going forward over the center of my foot. And so that's going to put more of the work into the outside of that quad and the outside of the hip, and really feeling how the hip and the quad work together to create the stability in the knee. Let's do one more of those. And pat, pat, pat. Now for our second exercise, we're going to go down to the floor. So for this next exercise, we're working similar muscle groups, and this is a good one to do if that last one felt super miserable. This is a little bit more gentle. It does require some hip flexor work, so both of them have their advantages and disadvantages. So we're going to just lay down on our backs, and you're going to want to have a mini loop, or if you don't have a mini loop, any kind of circular thing that you can put. You can just tie a bathrobe belt in a circle and put it around the arches, the balls of your feet with your legs up in the air. If laying like this with your legs up in the air gets really tiring for you, put some pillows under your butt so your butt's a little elevated. It's going to make it a little bit less miserable. We're going to start with our feet pointed, and I'm trying to pull my pinky toes out away from each other. So I'm actually beveling my feet. I'm rotating them out, and that's going to inspire the outside of my calves. And we're thinking about a line of muscle from the pinky toes up the outside of the calves, up the outside of legs, going all the way up to that outside butt. And I'm just going to start by pressing out into that band, little pulses. Now, if you have something tied around your feet that doesn't stretch, that's fine. Just press gently out into it and think about that line of muscle up the outside of the legs. We're going to get that working. And the knees should be really straight here. They're really engaged. So we're working our quad muscles as well. Now, from here, we're going to start to flex the feet and bend the knees, still pressing out into that band, and then straighten the knees all the way up and point the toes. So we're flexing and bending, and then straightening and pointing, constantly pressing out. So my outside butt is working the whole time, and my quads are working the whole time. And the thing I really like about this exercise is because it's not weight bearing, I have no weight on my legs, I can really go to my full extension of my knees. So if you are someone with hyperextended knees, this is a good opportunity for you to work on really strengthening those muscles in hyperextension, because you want to be strong in any position that your body is capable of achieving. So you want to be strong even in your hyperextension. And it's better to strengthen that hyperextension when you are not weight bearing and you have less chance of doing something sad to your knees. That said, if this hurts your knees, then of course, please be nice to them and maybe do some other exercise. You might want to see a PT or a doctor to specifically figure out what's going on with your knees before you continue. Let's do one more of these, and we're going to stop with the legs straight, press out a little bit more, and just flex and point the feet, squeezing those knees out straight. So I want max quad engagement, and we're specifically focusing on the part of the quad that's on the outside of the thigh that really works to stabilize the outside of the knee, because this is the muscle that really helps to protect our knees from that shearing force in middle splits. Let's do 3 more, and 2, and stop with the feet flexed and just hold, knees straight, pressing out, flexing the feet, pinky toe all the way up the outside of the leg, the outside butt. Woo! Very exciting for those quads and outside hips. And relax and shake it out. Pat, 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 pat. All right, folks, so those are just a couple of ideas. There are a lot more of good exercises for learning how to connect the side butt to the knee so that kneecap becomes more stable, and any kind of shearing force on the knee, like the one created by middle splits, is less damaging to the knee. It's also just good for long-term knee health, because we want our knees for the rest of our lives. They're so important. Thank you, knees. All right, everybody, enjoy. Take good care of your knees. Say nice things to your bodies, and many happy bendings.